coming down to punt some money with us out here in Texas.
Perfect.
He would be a perfect personality for Texas poker. He'd be like, how when we show up with nine triz on the river and a 1,000 big blind pot, and we're like, how did we do that?
Yeah. what happened? Mr. Delivery here got
Ace
the
is
aces
getting
moved over to
pestered.
his position, and he's going to take this one 3 ways to the flop. Bomber in there with a gutter on this 8-7 deuce flop, and he could get a little bit frisky with this.
Yeah, he never tends to believe anyone hits these boards. And he does raise a hand like this a lot of the time. So let's see if that is the play for him today.
47 in the middle, and Mr. Delivery going to put out about a 3/4 pot size bet, 2/3 somewhere in that vicinity, $35. Bomber going to take a peek, and yeah, goes through the old take off the glasses, peek over at him.
He takes a hunk of chips to the right.
He is just going to play this one as a call, it looks like.
Okay.
So check call here, maybe some aspirations to try to take this away later. However, he's going to turn a pair. Another club, which is going to be a little bit troublesome. No, never mind. Just donk lead right out for 100.
I don't mind donk lead on a board change.
I made a stupid. I'm doing stupid shit right now. He's like, I made a booking mistake. My flight's actually.
Yeah, so Mr. Delivery just going to go into bluff catch mode here. If you raise, you are very likely to only get continued hands that are better than you and have hands that are worse than you fold. The only rationale for going for a small raise would be that if he had just picked up some sort of little bit of equity and was trying to make something happen, get a cheaper card or something. But when it's that large of a bet, it was a full 100 into a 117. Yeah, as it stands now, Bomber is going to make a straight on the end here. I love how he gets up and
through
looks
the motions.
around.
Do you think he will? Yeah, I think it's check here, right?
Yes. Yeah. I don't
want to turn into a bluff.
No, I think Mr. Delivery is going to have a lot of single club flushes here. He definitely doesn't need to turn aces into a bluff. All right, but as it stands, the 9-5 for Bomber is going to get it done, and Mr. Delivery.
He's probably looking at it like, what kind of run out is this?
Yeah, what just happened? Drag some knobs or whatever those are, and see if we can get things worked out. JT in 1968, he says, I have an idea. How about volunteering J-Stack to come to the booth one night? I'll volunteer J-Stack into the booth. Why not?
That is the way, as Ernesto likes to say.
Yeah. All righty. What do we got going on here?
We have some action. That's what we have. But did Delivery just flat Ace King there?
He did. He flatted on the button. Ace King, expecting somebody to maybe raise this up. As Albert,
apologize for my stomach growling. I'm a little hungry.
Yeah, well, we have to go get you some snacks from up front. Albert puts in this 3-bet with his own Judy's, and Bomber in a pained position here. He really doesn't want to fold this, but I think he is going to elect to do so, which he will. And now back over to Mr. Delivery.
It'd be strange to 4-bet here, right?
It would be strange. You would be sort of turning your hand a little bit face up. I think most people, if they do take that line, generally do have Ace-King. The problem was that Albert has 1K behind. It will be tough to get all the money in. And, I mean, obviously Albert is just probably going to maybe take one little range bet at this, like quarter to a third pot, and then just kind of shut it down would be my guess. That's a lot of chips.
Big.
That is a lot of chips. That is.
Oh, yeah.
That is a little bit too big, I think. I mean, of course we can see his hand, so it's a little bit like hard to unplug and be like, what else would you do this with? But like, I guess he says like, if I had Ace King here, I would bet really big because there's a lot of Broadway straights and spades and things like that could peel one off, and I don't want to make it too cheap for them. So that's maybe understandable, but yeah, also just a little bit tricky. Mr. Delivery can.
I would say again, the way Mr. Delivery played this, he's gonna have a lot of middling pairs, don't you think? Like flat and then call the 3-bet, like in position, like
middling pairs and suited broadways.
Right.
Yeah.
So the smaller bet on that board will get all those middling pairs to, like, maybe you can get one hero call, but like they're not going to continue anyway, so you might as well bet a little smaller. But again, there's merits to everything. That's an interesting card.
It is. There shouldn't be a ton of queens in Albert's range, right? Unless it was exactly ace queen. And so, tricky spot for him to continue. He's just going to jam it. And Mr. Delivery is going to snap call. Yeah, Albert is like, I'm pretty much toast, so I think you're good. Run it once, twice, 18 times. Not going to find too many Judys left in the deck. Bricks out on the first one, and not a Judy on the river the second time either. We'll see if we can get that sorted out, but certainly we did
Speaking of aces.
Yeah, when players get those cracked, you get the 30% off, so we should make it happen for those guys. All right. Anyways, let's see what happens. Kahlua raises up with the aces, and
Albert going to come along with the call here from the straddle. Let's see what the Emace does here. What his suited computer hand.
Oh boy, Will the Knit here says that he just got his aces cracked again.
Well, that's pretty standard. That happens on the regular.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Okay, Queen 10-6, but
little piece for everybody.
Emace with the top pair. That is not good for him. Albert, bottom pair might be a little bit easier for him to get away from this. Checky. Kahlua going to continue. $80. I like the sizing. And if Albert had a heart on board, he would probably think about continuing, but he is going to let that one go. And Eric, though, with the top pair, backdoor straight and flush draws, don't think he's going anywhere. Rockstar Implementations here in the chat. What's going on, brother? He says, good evening. Who are our lovely commentators? Well, I am Aaron, and this is
Steam Dola. We did pick up the flush draw here for Eric. Kahlua does have the ace of clubs in his hand. I think there's ever a spot where you can kind of turn this into a semi-bluff type situation, or you're just going to call and take all your equity.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a nightmare because your equities
does get there. Ace is cracked again.
Yeah. So because your hand is a combination of showdown and draw, right? Like the pair of queens could be good.
Exactly.
And you also have the draw to back it up. It's one of those things where it's one of the trickiest spots to decide, do I need to try to rip this in?
Right.
It's tough to get paid when your flush comes in, but when it doesn't,
at least you have a bluff catcher
your
or
pair.
something. Yeah.
Exactly. He's going to lead out here on the end after he makes the flush, and Kahlua feels obligated to pay him off. A couple of eights. What do you think's coming?
Well, that is the stone worst combination of eights. But it doesn't mean that's bad. Yeah, but in the spectrum of eights, that is the worst one.
Yeah. The diamonds in the club?
Diamond club.
Oh, wow. All right. You guys. Yes.
Buck the trend, yeah. Holem's going to get stacked.
Throw a little love to the castaways, you know. Super producer Carolyn giving some love to the unloved suits.
She's always contrarian to my beliefs.
Anything that Steam Dola likes, she's on the other side. That's right. All right, Mr. Delivery, ace queen offsuit out of the straddle, puts in the raise. This was a limped pot, and AJ coming along. He's ready to play what could potentially be a big pot.
Not much behind for the eights here. What's the maneuverability here?
Yeah, the fact that he limped this is a little bit odd. And now with this large raise, it's sort of like, do you pile it and just buckle in? No, you run for the exit. So Behold, I'm going to preserve his 5-5-5. Dante, Queen 10 of diamonds. This is a hand that should have already hit the muck, but he's not quite done. Oh, yeah, he's going to show the neighbor. That's the classic, hey, what do you think?
Look, check out this flop I'm going to get.
All right, Mr. Delivery going to take a peek over and find out that AJ has a whole big purple-pink tip there.
Yes, he sure does.
And 5-5-4 flop. A couple of diamonds. Mr. Delivery does have the ace of diamonds.
Dante going, I told you I was going to flop a diamond draw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Checky very quickly here. And a 7 of spades on the turn. Mr. Delivery's hand is still good. And AJ with just king high. Not clear if he's going to try to take this away if Mr. Delivery checks once more. Or if he's just going to take showdown with king high. Probably just, I mean, this is just a give up.
They're both kind of like, I'll just take showdown here.
I mean, AJ must know that he's going to lose at showdown, but just not interested in attempting to take this away, I think, is how that goes.
Well, when Mr. Delivery does opt to take this line, he's like, I have a hand that I'll probably call, a bet with. I think ace high is probably good here a lot of the time. So it's like, is it worth bluffing into this with no equity or no draws or anything like that?
Yeah.
The eights would have held off.
So I would actually love to see Mr. Delivery put in 2 green chips right now. But if he just checks this over to AJ as well, that would be fine.
Look at that, even smaller.
Yeah, I think he could have got him for 50 even, but he goes for the 35, which I still love. Mr. Delivery on the right wavelength. Yes, he gets it paid. See,
I love it.
So brilliant.
The beautiful little value block bet.
Yes. Oh, man, I've gotten a few of those recently. So I would say that it's pretty tough to figure out what someone is doing it with.
Right.
We'll come back to this, but George has got aces, but we'll keep talking until
and
something
Albert's
happens.
got king queen suited, and Kalua's got jack 10 suited. We're gonna
get chips.
We're gonna see some chips.
But yeah, I would say that if you do run up against a player who's doing it consistently, you'll be able to start to piece together some data points of like it's always an ace high type hand that is just trying to get to showdown and maybe gets a little value, maybe just loses a little bit less.
Wow, there's calls. Okay, I thought I was going to see a...
Oh, yeah, what?
Especially from out of the blinds. Now...
What just happened? Okay, all these players just called, and Albert is going to get himself tuned up a little bit here unless he gets bailed out by a turn or river card. B. Hold'em and Kalua have pretty well missed this by a mile. But
George usually goes pretty big here, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would expect... full pot or more. Okay. No.
Yeah, just
3/4.
Yeah.
Over to Albert. And because George is liable to sort of go a little bit blasty with some different holdings, you should definitely just call this and see what develops. And unfortunately for him, he doesn't have a spade or anything to give him some backdoor bailouts, but
and all the kings are gone, looking up at the top here, so
yeah.
He's
hunting for a lady, but he didn't get one on the turn. Does turn some backdoor diamonds if someone were to be holding those. Of course, neither of these players are. As we wait for George to cut out his bet sizing, I am going to answer Chris's question here. He says, what happened to Big Daddy Chaz? Does he still play or just a different game? No, this is the platform that he plays on Mondays. Plays the 5-10 uncapped pretty much every Monday. But this is Thursday, which means that we've got a little bit of a different crowd up in here. So
the 2-5 crowd.
The 2-5 crowd, that's right. So thank you for joining us. And if you would like to see Chaz, be sure to tune in on Mondays starting at 6 p.m. Central.
Just another call here, or with all these draws out there, are we trying to do anything else?
Yeah, it's like you could go either way because, like, if the draw bricks off on the end, then you just check it over to George again and see if he blasts it because he missed his draw and it's just, he can't win now.
Right.
Without bluffing. Or you just pile it in now. The thing is that the stack to pot ratio is getting quite small.
Right, so he's not going to have much. And he does jam. I think that's better because he's going to be left with so little, like you said, after calling there. It's like, what's the point? Bomber with the snap.
Yep. And Albert in a tricky spot here. Going to need to get bailed out by a lady. Can he find one on the end? Or will he ship his stack over to George? It is a 5 of diamonds. Running it twice. One more chance for glory.
It looked like paint. Oh! Yeah, it looked like paint. That's why.
Wow. And just like that, Albert gets bailed out for 900. Look at that.
That's a big bailout.
That is. There's something just like extraordinary about watching guys sit there with like 10K in front of
Yeah.
them. Just an astronomical number of big blinds. They're all 1K or 1,000 big blinds deep or something like that. And they're just, executing these plays back and forth with a range of different skills and approaches and strategies. And then to watch the 2-5 game where, a lot of these players are very good, but they have a different approach. It's a different style with basically the same number of big blinds on the table.
Yeah,
Very cool.
correct. And it's just a little bit more straightforward, but it's, a lot of these players are probably winning players. And it beats the game that they normally play, and it might beat a lot of the games that you guys play at home in your 1-2 games or 2-5 games in your local place. But then you can also see, like, you know what, I never would have thought about bluffing my trip sevens there. So watching the Monday game, and you might see someone do that and be like, hey, that was a great spot. Like, next time you're in that spot, and it's definitely not 100% of the time, but, like, sometimes when everything seems right and you have enough chips behind that you can rip that.
Yep.
And turn a hand that you never would have won that pot in, and all of a sudden scoop it with a hand that you thought was a value hand that you had to turn to a bluff, which is kind of your next tier. What I'm sure you have to do a ton of in tournament play, Mr. Aaron.
Well, yeah, it's really tricky in tournaments because, as we were talking about the stack sizes before, right, it's like you very frequently are in this weird kind of like 30 to 40 big blind range where you do have some playability, but yeah, to have a
Like
scenario
early.
play out where it's like a bet,
more like early, I
a
guess.
raise, and then you can still go all in. It happens, and if you can find those spots,
Well, you
like,
do.
it's
Well, I
excellent.
think when people's tournament lives are at risk and you're like bubbling, like air, that's where that, like, they have a hand that beats you. You have a hand that is showdown value, but like they're not going to call their tournament life, and you can get them off in situations like that. But
Yeah.
let's digress.
AJ bets 1,000 here on the end with a couple of fives.
Yikes.
And Hayden is all in to call. So actually, this is an effective bet of 618. Excuse me. Just about a full pot size bet then,
Well, this is
all
one of
things
those-
considered.
Like I said, this is one of those spots where now you're blocking like the wrong cards. If you wanted him to be bluffing.
Well, sort of yes and sort of no,
Yeah,
right? The
well,
Jack
10
of Hearts
Yeah,
is
Jack
fine.
of Hearts is good. 10 of Hearts is a bad card.
Yes.
Could have like a Queen 10 with 2 heart or 10-9 with hearts. Queen 10 hearts, Queen 10 in general.
Yeah, so let's take a look at the action, right? AJ raised to 50, Hayden called. Then Hayden donk led for 75, and AJ called. We don't have that up anymore, but because of the way that the action went with the donk lead and the call, AJ played that one in position, and yeah, he sort of lost the initiative because it's like after he didn't make the flush, it was like, okay, well, now I'll take my showdown and check. Well, now your opponent gets to say, I've got a king.
Right.
And he didn't have a king.